このビデオは一般的な情報のみを伝えています。このビデオのみで行動したりしなかったりしないようによろしくお願いします。今日はトロントで移民弁護士をしているジェシカ・ユアン先生からエクスプレスエントリーの最新ニュースについてお話をお伺いしてみましょう。
Konnichiwa, minasan. My name is Jessica Yuen, and I am a lawyer in Toronto. Thank you so much for having me on your show to answer your questions about the July 6, 2022 Express Entry Draw.
はい。では最初の質問です。First question. カナディアンエクスプレスエントリー、フェダルスキルドワーカー、フェダルスキルドトレードが再開しました。再開後最初の抽選はいつものと比べてどのような感じでしたか？
So on July 6, 2022, IRCC resumed draws for all the Express Entry programs. This was a very highly anticipated moment, especially overseas candidates, because there had been a 2-year pause on the federal skilled worker programs and the federal skilled trades. But as many of you heard or witnessed, the CRS cutoff was a mind-blowing 557. This is really high. It's very, very high. And with that being the score, only 1,500 invitations were issued, which isn't surprising considering how the majority of candidates have scores lower than 500. So a lot of people are wondering, why did they decide to set the cutoff score that high? Nothing official has been released as to why they made that decision, but my guess is possibly as they're trying to ease their way back into inviting people for PR through skilled work. This is one way of controlling the number of applications they get, because in the previous video, I discussed how right now we are experiencing a 2.4 million case backlog that they're trying to get through. A lot of it was because of COVID and had to be put on hold. So if they had started with the lower score, let's say in the high 300s or 400s, they would have probably piled on like another 40,000 cases to deal with. So this is probably the government's way of trying to to control the influx of cases coming in, but then also keeping their word that they were going to resume the program this year. Anyways, when the draw was announced, lawyers, consultants immediately took to the CRS tool to create the ultimate persona of someone with a score of at least 557. So I'm going to show you a couple of profiles that I played around with, and I've noticed that there are a few permutations, but I've decided to stick with I'm going to show you 2 or 3 scenarios actually. So I'm going to share my screen. So what I decided to do, it was to come up with a base that was the minimum requirement that you would have to get, that one would have to get in order to meet the score. Okay, so the first scenario, this is for someone who doesn't have a job offer. So this is like you don't have an LMIA, you only have one first language that you can use, you don't have a second language, and you don't have any siblings in Canada who are PRs or citizens. What's the minimum that you would have to score in each of these factors? First off, marital status, single. Single gives you the most points. Age, you would have to be under 30. Okay. Possibly with this particular scenario, you could maybe be 31, but any older than that, you wouldn't have enough points. Education, again, I was just looking at the bare minimum. The minimum would have to be at least a master's degree in Canada. First language, you will have to hit CLB 10, which is, you'd have to be really, really good, basically native speaker. In terms of Canadian work experience, minimum 2 years work experience. If you just left it at that, you wouldn't have enough points. So you'd have to tack on another year of foreign work experience, and that gives you 564. So if we move on to the next scenario. All right. So the next scenario we have, this is if, let's say you don't have any foreign work experience because you've done all your schooling here, you've gained all your you gained all your work experience in Canada. Again, let's say you don't have a second language and you don't have any siblings in Canada who are PRs or citizens. If we look at the baseline, we still have the marital status of single, age under 30, education is still master's degree, first language, CLB 10, Canadian work experience 2 years. I've noticed that this is the minimum you have to achieve. And that only gives you a subtotal score of 514. So you can see like it's quite demanding. The score is really high. And just by having this alone, it doesn't give you enough to work with. You have to tack on something. So in the previous example, you tacked on foreign work experience. Let's say you don't have that. Then the only way to get over 557 is to have a job offer or an LMIA, which is the same thing. That gives you an extra 50 points. So that increases your score to 564. So let's keep this all the same. Another way, if let's say you don't have a job offer, really is to have a second language, but scoring at a CLB 7 at least. Any lower than that, you don't get enough points. But you can see that this combination brings your score up to 576. So this is just 3 examples that I played with. But from what I've noticed is the top part here, everything before the subtotal score is the minimum that you would have to get. And then you would just have to tack on that with either extra work experience or another language or job offer or something like that, just to bring you over. So needless to say, the 1,500 invitees for this draw, they were part of a very homogenous and specific group type. Young, highly educated, they have great English or French skills, and they've worked in the country for at least 2 years, and maybe have a job offer, or they also had foreign experience. So it's a very, very small niche. So yeah, it wasn't surprising that they didn't invite that many people. So yeah, that's basically it. It gives you an idea of what sort of people were actually invited.
ありがとうございます。では、2番目の質問です。Second question. この高い点数はしばらく続くと思いますか？それともこの先落ちると思いますか？
Yeah, so as much as I would like to be able to, I can't predict the future. But from what I've read, given how much the number of candidates grew in the express entry pool during the pause, the prediction is that the scores will likely stay above 500 for about 6 months. And my thinking is the reason behind this is probably because they want to control how many applications officers have to process given the backlog. If you were to bring in 40,000 cases all at once, they're not going to be able to meet the deadlines that that they've announced in April, which was trying to get through express entry cases within 6 months. This is really the only way that they're able to do that, having a smaller caseload to work with. So it's possible that for half a year, we don't know if it's actually going to be that long, but we might see scores being in the 500s and above. But I mean, keeping it at a really high score is just not sustainable. So eventually we'll see the score drop. It's just a matter of when. Historically, the scores would start lower in the beginning of the year and then gradually get higher as IRCC meets their quota. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the next few months, especially in conjunction with the new Bill C-19, which I'll be talking about next.
ありがとうございます。では、3番目の質問です。Last question. カナダ政府が発表している最新の移民政策について教えてください。
So in June this year, Bill C-19 was passed. So with respect to immigration, the bill will change the game of for Express Entry. And it'll change it in such a way that Express Entry will emulate how provinces are selecting skilled workers and have done so over the years. The bill will give immigration minister the authority to select candidates based on groupings instead of the CRS score alone. So for example, IRCC could hold specific draws for just healthcare workers. They can hold specific draws just for French speakers. The groupings will be determined based on a few factors, largely based on job vacancies and the in-demand occupations that need to be filled. So right now we've got a huge shortage of health practitioners, so those could possibly be put on the priority list. And there's always a goal that Canada is trying to achieve to bring in French speakers. So those are just examples of likely groupings that they're going to create. No details have been released as of yet on what the process is going to look like. So as always with immigration in this country, stay tuned. They'll give us updates as they, I guess, figure things out down the road.
ありがとうございます。では、ジェシカ先生、今日もたくさんの質問に答えてくださりありがとうございます。次のビデオでしてほしい質問があれば日本語でいいので、ぜひコメント欄にコメントをよろしくお願いします。また、このビデオが役に立ったという方は、ぜひいいねとチャンネル登録をよろしくお願いします。
Thank you so much for having me. Please click like and subscribe and comment below. We want to see your comments and any questions that you have. We answer all different kind of legal questions. It's not just immigration. I know we've done a series on immigration, but feel free to ask family law questions, landlord-tenant questions. We're going to be churning out videos on those topics as well. So yeah, put your questions in the comment section and then we'll choose questions that will feature in future videos. Thank you.